Everyone expected it to be very close, but in the end, people across the Republic came out in huge numbers to support the removal of the 8th Amendment from the Irish Constitution. Two-thirds of those who took part in Friday's referendum voted to overturn the abortion ban. No campaigners say they're heartbroken at the result, but have vowed to continue their campaign as the legislation makes its way through the Dáil. Let's talk first to the Sinn Féin leader Mary McDonald, who campaigned for a yes vote and who's in Dublin. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us, Mary McDonald. You've described the vote as historic and definitive, but no one predicted the scale of the victory. What do you think changed in the last week?
Well, good morning, Mark. I think this result is years in the making, actually. And I think what we saw in the result, and it was seismic. I mean, it was absolutely, it's been described as a roar of the people in response to this question. I think there has been a process underway for some time, often spurred by really awful happenings dating back to the X case, which was a case of a child rape victim being dragged through the courts, Savita Halappanavar's death, and then literally a litany of awfulness that arose from the 8th Amendment. That spurred public conversations, but in private, women, families had their own lived experiences. And I think the people drove this campaign. I think the people were ahead of the politicians, or at least many of the politicians, on this issue. And I think when it came to it, to make the change, I think in a very quiet, considered and a very firm and definitive way, the people spoke. And there's no gainsaying families and women who stepped forward and told their stories of their heartbreak at being exiled to seek care and services at the diagnosis of a fatal fetal anomaly. There's no gainsaying circumstances in which women suffered sexual violence and rape and likewise found themselves exiles from their own country. There's no denying the fact that abortion pills are a reality, that women and girls are self-medicating in lonely and silent ways, and that they cannot be left in those circumstances. People simply won't tolerate it. So it was definitive. I think certainly the scale of the yes vote took people aback, and it has said very clearly now to the government in the first instance, but to all of us as legislators, that we have work to do, that law must be formed and enacted. And it's also said that Ireland has changed any notion of home rule being Rome rule. Mark, let me tell you, are consigned now, thank goodness, to the dustbins of history.
OK, so you've made it very clear it's a good result and that the Irish government needs to act and to act promptly. Do you want that legislation to provide for a specific service for women from Northern Ireland?
I think that the legislative framework as envisaged and access to service has to be available to women right across our country, right across Ireland. I think it would be a scandal if a woman in Dundalk were to have rights and access to services that a woman in Newry was denied. Now, I am conscious, obviously, that the need for legislation in the north should, in the first instance, come through the Assembly and the Executive. Well,
we haven't got that, of course, so what do we do in the absence of that?
I very much regret the fact that we still find ourselves in that position. We need to get government back. We need to get power sharing, real power sharing back. And this is one of many issues that needs to be dealt with, because the North is now increasingly held in a situation as being almost a backwater in respect of recognition of people's rights.
But in the absence,
people's identity,
Mary Lou, in the absence of a working executive at Stormont, do you want to see Westminster legislating for abortion legislation in Northern Ireland?
No, I don't. I want.
So you don't support the call by Penny Mordaunt for action, by Stella Creasy, the Labour MP, by Sir Vince Cable to actually deal with the situation in Northern Ireland?
No,
I don't want legislation from Westminster.
I want Irish law for Irish women in Ireland.
And are you prepared to wait for that if the Assembly doesn't come back anytime soon?
And Mark, can I just say in that regard, anybody who thinks that it is a sustainable position to either A, keep the Assembly and Executive in abeyance forever is living in cloud cuckoo land. We need the institutions back. We need them back on a sustainable basis. And when they are back, we need a politics in the north, just as we need it in the south, that recognises that Irish society has changed, that there are outstanding social issues that the people want addressed, and that the women of Ireland, whether they live in Dublin, whether they live in Belfast, can no longer look the other way and will no longer tolerate politics and politicians that live in some world of make-believe where things are black and white. We live in the real world, and so we need Irish law to protect Irish women.
OK, so if we don't have legislation from Westminster, you've made it very clear you don't want that. We do not have a Stormont executive at the moment. So is your solution then, in the meantime, for women who want a termination from Northern Ireland to get a free termination in what is the Republic of Ireland under the forthcoming legislation? Is that your solution? Is that your de facto solution for the foreseeable future?
Yes, and it's not a solution, by the way, because the solution will always be for people to have their rights protected and recognised, and services available to them in their own place and on their own doorstep. But yes, I couldn't envisage a situation where women from the north would be precluded from accessing services here in the south. I think it's very important, not least with the Brexit trauma in the wings, that we ensure that services like that are freely available to every woman who calls this island home. I think that's extremely important, and I think it'll be part of the discussion and the debate as the government publishes the legislation and as we move forward. And can I just say this, because I think it'll be important for many of your viewers. You know, people down here, many of whom came out and voted yes, would be people who themselves would hold a very strong position against abortion, would have a strong ethical and moral position for themselves. But what changed, and this is the seismic change, is that in a very quiet way, as people listened to women's and families' stories, that people arrived at the point of understanding and taking a decision that in so many circumstances for women, the choice, the decision between herself and her family, herself and her doctor, have to be taken by women themselves. So this was on the face of it an issue that was about the Constitution and abortion, but more profoundly it was an issue of women's rights and women's autonomy and their capacity to take decisions for themselves.
You will know very well, Mary Lou McDonald, you don't need me to tell you that there are a great many unionists, not least the DUP, in a fairly powerful position, it has to be said, at Westminster, that do not want to see abortion extended to Northern Ireland. Not only do you have to convince unionism then about your plan of attack, you have people in your own party to convince as well. We know Peadar Tóibín and Carol Nolan, to name just two, are not happy with Sinn Féin policy on this issue. It'll be very interesting to see what they say and do as the legislative debate unfolds in the Republic. If they choose to vote with their consciences and oppose this government legislation as it works its way through the Oireachtas, are they free to do that?
Well, first of all, you use the term plan of attack. I've no plan of attack. I have a very strong plan to protect and to vindicate the rights of women for access to healthcare and to have their lives and their health protected. So we have an Ard Fheis in Belfast in June, on the 15th and 16th of June. We'll be bringing forward a motion to that Ard Fheis to move Sinn Féin policy along to the next step. The conversation is already underway right across our party. And by the way, the repeal of the 8th Amendment was an all-Ireland debate. It was an all-Ireland debate. People in the north took very strong positions.
Yeah, but will Sinn Féin people who don't agree with party policy be given the freedom to vote with their conscience, yes or no? It's a simple question, just a simple answer. It's a simple question, and I'm not dodging the answer. You know the answer to that question. Everybody in Sinn Féin is entitled to have their position of conscience, articulate that position of conscience, have that position of conscience absolutely respected. But when it comes to making the law that is not just for yourself, but that is for society generally, when it comes to formulating public policy on a matter of women's health and the protection of women, in those circumstances, elected Sinn Féin representatives are bound by the democratic decisions of the Sinn Féin Ard Fheis. And so that is not to disrespect anybody's conscience whatsoever, but it is simply to say that women's health,
women's health care, women's rights are matters of public policy and law, and on those matters, as a political party, we will not cop out. We are prepared to lead, we're prepared to respect each other, have our debates respectfully, and then arrive on a democratic, considered, collective position.
OK, we will leave it there. Mary Lou McDonald, thanks very much indeed for joining us today.